All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. We're really excited about tonight. This is the first time really that we've done uh, any sort of training on this topic specifically. So I'm really excited about the examples that we've pulled and some of the new AI tools, and also some very cool eMediaVA resources that hopefully you find engaging and are excited about using with your students. So we'll cover both this afternoon with our time together. We'll talk a little bit about AI. We'll look at some specific tools and some ways that you can use new eMediaVA resources with those tools, or really any digital media, any place that you prefer to utilize digital media. We'll talk about how you can use AI with a variety of different types of resources that you might be using with your students. So again, thank you and welcome. If you have any questions as we're going through, even now, please feel free to drop those in the chat. But again, really excited that you're here and excited to talk about some of the tools and resources that we're going to share this afternoon. So, of course, we will start with introductions. Um, I'll go first, although I'm at the bottom. My name is Lindsay, and I am the manager of eMediaVA at WHRO Public Media. We are the NPR PBS, so the public media station for Southeastern Virginia. But eMediaVA is a completely free resource for the entire state. We will spend some time a little bit talking about what eMediaVA is, but most of our time will be spent looking at resources and AI tools. So before joining WHRO Public Media, I was a high school social studies teacher in Newport News Public Schools, which is one of the local school divisions here to WHRO. And I will hand it over to Janie to introduce herself.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I apologize if there's a weird glare on my face. I'm trying to move my water bottle to block the sun from coming in my side window. But hello, I'm Janie Everett. I'm the Educational Technology Manager at WHRO. My email's up there on the screen in case you need me for anything after today. As the Ed Tech Manager, I do a lot of professional development and really anything technology related at the station as we support our school divisions. And before coming to WHRO, I was an elementary teacher and an instructional technology specialist.
So we mentioned we both work at WHRO, and one thing we always like to share, even if you're not from our local area, is that we are the only public media station in the country that is owned by our local school divisions. So we are owned and operated by the 21 school divisions that you see here highlighted in yellow on this map, from Virginia Beach and Norfolk all the way up to West Point and Middlesex, which is closer to the Richmond area, and then the Eastern Shore. So we have a lot of educational resources, some of which are for our local school divisions, but then a lot are for the entire state, one of which is eMediaVA. So again, just to reiterate, it is a completely free resource, and most of our resources come from PBS, education, and member stations around the state. So just some common questions. As I mentioned, if you have any questions as we're going through, please feel free to drop those in the chat. I will send out an email tomorrow with a link to the slide deck and this recording and a certificate of attendance for tonight. So again, everything, and also should mention everything that we are going to share from the eMediaVA resources to the AI tools are linked in the slide deck, so don't feel like you have to write down links or take copious notes. We will share the slides with you. And just know we love to do trainings. This is a big part of our job. So we can do this training with your school or in your district. Just talk eMediaVA. If you guys have a need, if you have any school or district PD days, we would love to join. So just something to keep in mind, to keep us in mind and let us know. And again, any questions at all about anything WHRO, eMediaVA, or training, please feel free to reach out. As Janie mentioned, our emails are linked in the slide deck. So, what will we do with our time this afternoon? Of course, we'll spend some time talking about AI, what it is, um, some things to keep in mind as you're using AI with your students or just yourself as an educator. We will, of course, look at AI specific tools and then also explore a plethora of eMediaVA resources that are available for you to use. And then finally, discover new and exciting ways to present digital media, to present engaging information to your student, really K through 12. So, as I mentioned, some of these tools are new to me too. So, I'm really excited to learn more and to talk about how you can use digital media with your students in collaboration with AI tools. So we wanted to start by playing Two Truths and a Lie AI edition. So we have three slides with three different images of them. Two are real and one is an AI generated image. So this is also something you can do with your students. But we wanted to play together and we're just going to use the chat box. So like I said, we have three different slides here. So we would love for you guys to guess. One, two, or three, which of these images do you think is AI generated? Put your guess in the chat.
While we're waiting for some guesses to come in, I'll say when I was putting this together, two of these images I got off of eMediaVA. There's a
I didn't know
very
that.
broad, yeah, very broad collection of images in eMedia. So two are from eMedia, and one of them I created myself in Adobe Firefly, which is a really great text to image tool that we're not going to cover today, but definitely one of my favorites.
Okay. A lot of you are hitting it. So we have a lot of threes, a lot of twos. There's a one. Um, Janie, do you want to do the reveal?
Sure. Number three is the AI generated image. One and two are real images that I got off of eMedia.
I can definitely see, I mean, they all could truth or lie. So I get that. Okay. So again, moving on to our second here. I thought this one was really hard as even a former social studies teacher who uses a lot of primary sources. I was like, ah. So one, two, or three, which of these historical images would you believe is AI generated?
I think more of you got me on that one. Number one is the AI generated image. Two and three both came from eMedia VA. And then we have one more round of this that Lindsay will take us
Interesting.
to.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have gotten that. Good. And this is our final one using some art here. Which of these art renderings would you say is AI generated? One, two, or three?
I see an IDK.
We have a very honest, I don't know. Okay, so this one is more split. Go ahead, Janie.
Number one is the AI generated image for this one again. Two and three were both off of eMediaVA and depict actual works of art found out there in the world. And I'm curious too, if you don't mind, does anybody want to share in the chat? Were you just guessing? Do you have some sort of method when you're looking for AI generated images? Yeah, I know when I come across these and I don't know the answers, I find them really hard and I'm always wrong. But a lot of you had really good guesses, and I don't know if you were just lucky or if you have some sort of skill that you're using. Brighter colors. Okay. Clearer, crisper images. Dutch florals always have asymmetry. Wow, we have a very smart group with us tonight.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, feel free to use these examples with your students and see if they could pick up on some of the same things that you guys did. And it's a great teaching lesson. I mean, obviously, you guys are, have some tips and tricks for discovering AI. But it is really hard. So you could share those with your students as well.
Oh, and along with that, Lindsay,
Mhm.
we mentioned we're going to share the slides with all of you at the end of the session and in an email tomorrow as well. And everything that I used from eMediaVA, including those photos, all have links to where I found them. So, feel free to take our slides, use the resources, etc.
Thanks, Janie. So we're going to start just by quickly exploring eMediaVA. We'll talk a little bit about what it is in case it is a new resource to you, or maybe you haven't used it in a while. I'll just show you around the homepage. We won't look at a ton of specific resources right now because we will do that when we're talking more about how to use them specifically with AI. But want to just start with just a brief overview again, in case you have no idea what eMediaVA is. So eMediaVA is a free digital media content library for Virginia educators. So we cover pre-K through 12th grade, all contents and grade levels, and we have over 20,000 resources in our content library. So, of course, lots of video, but then also interactive resources like labs, simulations, games, primary sources that you can use with your students, and your students can also use for projects. You can save resources, create your own collections that you can then share with fellow educators, share with students, share with parents and guardians at home if they're looking for additional resources. And of course, there's a lot of places to get digital media. But we are really the only content library that just serves Virginia. So everything is searchable by standard, is tagged to state standards. We update our library when new SOLs roll out very quickly. So for example, we just did a big project where we completed all of the new math standards and make sure that all of our math resources are updated to align with the new standards. Um, and finally, it's very easy to utilize our content in your district LMS. We do have a Canvas integration where you can search and embed eMediaVA resources in Canvas without coming to our site at all. So if you're a Canvas user, that's definitely something to check out. If you're not sure if your division uses it, you can reach out to me and let me know. And we're happy to kind of get the ball rolling on that too, if it's something districts would be interested in having. If you're not sure about an account, you go to our login page and search for your school, and it will tell you how to log in. So if you are a division using an SSO, chances are that is how you log in. We also do have a Google integration. Again, that's the best way, is to search for your school and it will tell you. And if you have any issues logging in, you can reach out to me. Barbara asked about the English standards, and we are working on that in the social studies right now. So hopefully in the next couple of months or so, those will be live. But again, we prioritize the math just for, whatever reason, but we are working on social studies and the new English ones as well. Thank you. So I'm going to hand it over to Janie to do this, but as I mentioned, I wanted to just show you around the homepage and highlight some resources that we have here. Again, in case maybe it's been a while since you visited, but you can search by keyword, but then some great filtering options here. You can search by the standard. I like to always start with a keyword search and then maybe use the standard to narrow down. But if you would like to, you can start with a standard search. You can narrow down by grade level, by type, and this also shows some of the different types of resources we have in eMediaVA. Janie and I are working on VR360 resources. We have a couple that are live that we did with Fort Monroe, highlighting their history as the site of the first recorded Africans in English North America, and then also their role working with freed enslaved people during the Civil War at Fort Monroe. So they have a really, really great history there that we've highlighted. We're also working on one right now with the Virginia Zoo, focusing on their Asia Trail for elementary students. So lots of great VR that you can look at. And then some things under other, you can search by vendor, you can narrow down by language, you can narrow down by caption. So at the top, we have curated collections, and these are always changing out based on things that are new, things that we're highlighting. So of course, changing seasons, it's winter. Compact Civics is awesome. They're just 1-minute civic lessons for students. And this guy right here is an actual middle school social studies teacher, so he's great. News and events, and then featured resources are just individual resources, and we try to pull one for each of the main content areas. So really, no matter what you teach, you're going to maybe see something that is interesting. And then what's trending is always fun to kind of see what people are using or what they're most interested in seeing when they first visit eMediaVA. So if you have any questions about eMediaVA, I know that was kind of a brief overview. Please feel free to drop them in the chat or reach out to me. But now I will hand it over to Janie, and she's going to get into some specifics of using our resources with AI tools. So just give her a minute to get set up. She's going to start to share her screen.
right. All right, so we're going to talk first about a couple of reasons why we would even want to use AI with digital media in the first place. Because the point of tonight's session is to take those really great resources that we find in eMediaVA, mix them up with some AI tools to make them better. Keyword better. We're not just going to, mix them up to say that we're using AI and do it for the looks, right? We want to do it to make our lives easier and to, enrich the learning experience of our students. So the first reason we might do that is the engagement piece. We know how important it is to keep our students engaged when we're teaching. I don't need to preach on that. Lindsay and I, over the past 2 years, have done a student engagement, professional development session quite a few times because it's so important. So, using AI can help us create new, exciting things that we may not have ever even dreamed of before. It can help us create fun hands-on experiments, games, anything we need to do to capture the attention of our kiddos and making sure that they are with us as we're teaching. Another reason to use AI is for accommodations or modifications. We know not all of our students learn in the same fashion or at the same pace. Some of us may be gifted teachers, some of us may be special ed teachers, some of us may be general classroom teachers who just have a bunch of kids in there at different levels. And AI certainly allots us a lot of tools that we can use to help accommodate and modify the resources that we're already using to make them more understandable or more challenging for the different types of learners that we have in our classrooms. AI also gives us the chance to get our students on that high level of critical thinking. We can extend learning in the lessons that we're already doing by using AI to create even more rich resources that go way beyond the lessons that we've been teaching to our kiddos for years. And one of the most important reasons we would use AI is because it is so easy. It makes our lives easier. It doesn't do all of the work for us. We, s- well, teachers are still important. We still need to have our jobs, but it helps us. It's a tool to help us, just like the internet is a tool to help us. AI is just another one right there to help us build great resources. We can create things in seconds that prior would take us hours, and we can do it all from the comfort of our own device. No need to, go to some crazy lengths. You can do it right from your phone. All right, so I feel like I need to mention this. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this though. I do want to say a little caveat before I start going on about how great AI is. It also has, some unknowns. There's a lot we don't know about AI. It's moving fast. You need to make sure that how you're using AI in your classroom with your students is safe and appropriate. You know what that looks like. So, I don't need to preach to you on what that is, but a really great starting place is your division's AI policy. I know some of your divisions have policies already on AI, some don't, some just have guidelines, but your ITRT, ITS, whatever you call them, is also a really good starting place if you're not sure what things are looking like right now for AI use in your school. It's a good place to start. I will say, I meet often with the technology leaders from the school divisions in our area, and a lot of them are really open to AI. I don't see a lot of blocking it. I think it's one of those things that we'll have a hard time getting around. It's just kind of here to stay, and we have to learn how to utilize it, teach our teachers, teach our students how to use it safely and to be good digital citizens, which, by the way, we have a lot of resources on in eMedia. So just my little spiel there about make sure you're following school policy, etc. And all of the resources that I'm going to show you today are free. eMediaVA is free for you. I'm going to show you probably four different AI tools that I use along with eMediaVA, and they all have free versions. Some of them also have paid versions, and that's great, but I don't pay for those. I use the free versions. So you won't need to pay for anything you see here today unless you want to. All right. So the first AI tool that I want to talk to you about today is one that's really new for me. I didn't even hear about Napkin until this week, actually, and I decided to look into it because, like I mentioned, AI is evolving, constantly changing, and I'm just running as fast as I can, trying to keep up with it, just like the rest of you. So here's a brand new one to me. So Napkin, I actually asked Google Gemini to tell me what these things are. I kind of got all of these definitions from an AI chatbot itself. So Gemini told me Napkin is an AI platform that specializes in transforming text into visual content. So my next slide, it may look like I'm jumping a little bit, but I'm going to take you to eMediaVA so that I can show you a resource I pulled directly from the eMedia site, and then we'll pull it over into Napkin, and I'll show you how I kind of use those two resources together to create something really powerful. And that's what I'll do for all four of my tools. So by the way, everything on here is linked. So if when you have our slides later, if you click on the napkin logo, it's going to take you right to the napkin site. And any of the eMediaVA resources that you see me use, like this one, Remembering Jimmy Carter, those are all linked as well. So if you see something you like today, please steal it from us. And I got out of my full screen mode just so it's a little easier for me to switch back and forth between tabs while I'm showing you these things. All right, so remembering Jimmy Carter, I was on eMediaVA the past couple of days trying to gather some really great resources for our session today. And I picked some of my, standard favorites, my go-tos that I love showing people just because they're my favorites. But I also just went through the eMediaVA homepage, and the majority of the stuff I'm going to show you today is actually from there. I was pulling from the curated collections, the trending objects all the way down at the bottom. So I kind of like to grab whatever other educators are using and see how I can use that too. I don't want to use the same old tired resources that I use all the time, right? So here's a really great collection I grabbed off of the eMedia site, all about Jimmy Carter, which, as we know, is very relevant right now in the news. There's a lot going on with Jimmy Carter and his unfortunate passing. So I took a look at this very first resource, and it is a web page. It is intended for grades 6 through 12. So I'm going to go ahead and launch that. And we have a great video here that I watched all the way through from PBS NewsHour. And luckily, as many of the resources in eMediaVA do have, this video has a transcript. So I have the text for the entire video. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a big highlight and copy so that I can paste it when I'm over. Carter lived to be 100, not an unfortunate passing. That's true. He seems like he lived a very full, active life. So, we love that. Okay. So now I'm going to head over to Napkin. And like I mentioned in the description, Napkin lets you put in documents, text, you can copy paste, you can upload stuff, and it lets you create some really cool like tables and visuals out of the information in that text. It like analyzes the text, pulls out the important things, and puts it in a cool little image for you. So let's start a new napkin. And let's see, I'll do a blank napkin, start from scratch. I'll call it Jimmy Carter. And then I'll go ahead and do a paste for all of that information that I took out of that eMediaVA resource. You can see there's like a very faint blue line down the side. And in the middle of the text, you'll see this little blue circle with the lightning bolt in it. And that's telling me this whole piece of text I put in here is what's like highlighted or what's being turned into an image. I could just highlight one paragraph if I wanted to put just that information into a graphic, but let's go ahead and click on our little arrow. It's evaluating all of the words. And then right down below the words, I'm going to start seeing some options for some visuals. And I get to go through and choose the one that I want. So, depending on what your text is and what it looks like, some of these visuals kind of just don't make sense or to me aren't really relevant. So I definitely recommend going through and scrolling and seeing what all of your options are. Um, I like this one. This, even though the not all of the dates are in here, this is a really good starting point. So it kind of looks like a timeline to me of all of Jimmy Carter's life events. And then I can even, kind of play around with the different styles and how I want it to look. So I can share this with people via email, or I can give people a link so we can all be in here working together as a whole class, group project, if we want to. And now we can also add some labels, the highlights, images. We can edit things if we wanted to go in and add those dates. I don't know. I have no clue what 100 years. So 1924, right? That was very easy math. Don't make fun of me for struggling for a second. And of course, we can change like all the colors and all that kind of stuff. So um don't have a lot of editing powers, but we definitely can fix these things up a little bit. And then earlier when I was creating some of these, I was taking screenshots of them, screenshots that you could share with your kids in your learning management system, put it in your notes for next year, put it into a Google slide like I did. You can grab those and do whatever you want with them. And then I'll show you one more way I used Napkin with another eMedia resource. There was a really great collection on the homepage for Word Girl, which is one of our PBS kids shows. And there was a really great activity, a game for synonyms and antonyms. Um, I had some really great worksheets and some different activity ideas, a lesson that I can do with my kiddos on synonyms and antonyms in the classroom. So over in Napkin, I decided that I wanted to not paste anything in there this time, but we'll do a new napkin, and this time we'll draft with AI. And I believe I just asked it, give me a list of synonyms for third graders. So in this case, I'm just looking for an additional activity to go along with that lesson I'm teaching that I found in eMedia. Felt like I wanted a little bit more. So it did give me a great list of synonyms. I'm going to go ahead and highlight all the synonyms it gave me. Go back to my little blue circle with the lightning bolt. It's analyzing. So, like I said, sometimes really doesn't make sense. Oh, but here's a great one. Words and their synonyms. And we have a bunch of branches coming off with words and then synonyms underneath them. And as I showed you before, we could add more on here. We could add more lines, notes. We could change some of these if we don't like them, add more, move this somewhere else, share it with another classroom teacher, whatever it is that you want to use this for. So, and here's one that I used earlier. So that's Napkin, brand new one to me. Loving it so far. I still have a lot to explore in there, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next one. And this one's a little newer to me as well. Um, I've known about this one for a little bit, but I'm not as familiar with it as I am some of my other favorite AI tools. So Notebook LM, once again, I asked Gemini to tell me what is Notebook LM. And by the way, this is a Google tool. So Gemini was able to give me a very long, thorough response that I had to cut down a little bit. Notebook LM is an AI-powered research and note-taking tool developed by Google Labs. Leverages Gemini, which is the Google like Chat GPT. It leverages Gemini to help users understand and interact with their documents. All right, so first, let's take a look at one of the eMedia resources I found. Again, right on the homepage, I believe this was a trending. I think I found this in the trending section of the homepage, but it's a great little resource series on budgeting and money scams and jobs and borrowing money, etc.
Budgets can be so confusing. It's all spreadsheets and columns and numbers, and why does this even matter? Hi, I'm Nico Gargiulo, and today on Adulting, we're talking about
All right, so we'll pretend we watched the whole video. I did earlier, I promise. But really great video on budgeting and scams. Now, most eMediaVA learning objects have some support materials if you scroll down. So these are, additional materials that fit along with the theme of what you watched up here that just give you, a little bit more vocabulary, discussion questions, activities, etc. So I went into further information to see what else I could find relating to this great resource. And then this one caught my eye. Avoid scams. Um, and this is really, really pertinent today. Scams are running rampant. They always have been, but scammers are just getting smarter and smarter. So really something, important that our students are going to benefit from learning about. So I'm going to click on this link. And this gave me a great article from Penn State. I'm going to go ahead and copy all that. What does a scam look like? Great. All right, so now I'm going to go over to Notebook LM. Here's a couple of the ones that I've made already. And I'm going to create new. So this lets you put in documents. We can upload sources from our device, PDFs, audio. We can pull from our Google Drive. We can pull in docs. We can pull in slides, links to websites, YouTube videos, etc. We can paste text in, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So now Notebook LM is analyzing what I gave it. And here I already have a summary on what I pasted in. Avoid job scams, Penn State. And it gives me a little paragraph summary of all that text I just put in there. Penn State University is warning students about the increasing number of job scams, etc. Now from here, just like, kind of any other chatbot, I can ask it questions. Why do scams happen? And it will, analyze my resource and tell me. But probably my favorite thing about Notebook LM is the audio overview. So I will tell you, this takes a couple of minutes. It's generating a conversation. But what Notebook does is it analyzes that resource, that text you put in, and it creates a podcast style conversation between two people. They're AI voices, they're not real. And the two people have this conversation podcast style about the text that you just provided. So I'm actually going to cut back over to my slides. I'm not going to make you wait a couple of minutes. I actually pasted one in here from earlier, and we'll take a listen to like the first 30 seconds. It's pretty uncanny. There it is.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're doing a deep dive on something that can really trip you up during your job search.
Oh, yeah.
Scams.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that love to target students and recent grads.
Mhm.
And we're using this great resource from Penn State Student Affairs to kind of guide us through this.
Awesome. Yeah, this is a great topic, and it's so relevant because
It's so relevant.
it's like scammers.
Yeah.
They just know when you're like a little bit vulnerable,
Yes.
like you're excited about new possibilities,
Yeah.
but maybe you're also a little stressed about landing that perfect job or internship.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you guys, but I was super impressed by that when I first saw that tool. Like, of course, as I mentioned in the beginning, we're going to listen to that whole 22-minute clip before we just give it to our kids and say, this is great, listen to this. But it's I thought it was really powerful, and I thought also maybe, I can imagine some of my students back from when I was teaching getting more out of this clip where it kind of sounds like two friends or two co-hosts chatting than they would just reading that huge page from the Penn State University website, all by themselves about scams, which really, let's be honest, can be a boring topic. So I found that pretty interesting. And then I'm going to show you one more way that I've used Notebook LM. This is another resource that I found in eMediaVA, of course. And this is a data analysis of pollution in Asia. So I have this really great document, kind of a long document, especially if you're a kiddo in school. And I have these tables here with all this data and this information. So I know these tables aren't that big, but imagine how powerful this would be if these were, you know, tables that had like 100 rows on them and you didn't have the time of day, or your students didn't have, they're in there for a 50-minute period, you don't have time of day to go all the way through this table. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this data that I highlighted from this table. I'm going to go back over and I'll create new. I'll paste in my text. And I'll ask, what is the pollution level in France? Pollution level in France. Let's fact check that. Where was I? All the way over here. Nope. Get out of my way. The Zoom bar is always where I'm supposed to be clicking. So they were correct. The pollution level in France is 27. So I know that was kind of a small table, but like I said, imagine if that were a much larger table with way more columns and rows. I've been using this personally as well, just for data I have to go through at my job, and it's been a saver. I'm loving this one. All right, so I think I'm gonna have time to show you one more of these tools. And of course, it is Magic School. If you haven't yet, definitely get yourself on Magic School, but I'm sure that a lot of you have. It's a really great AI platform designed specifically for teachers, unlike some of these other tools we've looked at where we can find ways to use them in education. Magic School is specifically created for us, for teachers, educators. It has over 60 individual tools on its website to support us in our day-to-day work as we're teaching our kiddos. So let me show you some examples of that. You can, of course, create lesson plans on Magic School. And honestly, I'm not even going to get into showing you how to do that because I'm sure most of us have already played with that, but if you haven't, it's really self-explanatory. So let's see. I'll go on to my next one. Geometry. In eMediaVA, we have a really great geometry series. Our online learning department at WHRO creates online courses. Geometry happens to be one of them. So all of these resources were created in-house at WHRO. They're really powerful resources, and we've taken these small chunks from the online courses and put them into eMediaVA for you all to access for free. So Magic School, here's the site, has all of these different AI tools, as I mentioned. And lesson plan is right here, which again, I'm not going to go into that one, but you can create stellar detailed lesson plans in literally a matter of seconds. But I'm going to go ahead and type in choice so I can find it. There it is, choice board. So when you're creating a choice board in Magic School, you can be as broad as you want to. You can say, make me a choice board on geometry, and it will put something together for you. Or you can be as specific as you want to. So I'm going to type in, let's see. We'll keep 10th grade. We'll do geometry, and I'll say, include the following resource links when creating a choice board for students on geometry. I'm going to cut back to eMedia and grab some of these. So we'll say Venn diagrams, something we're working on in class. Definitely want my kiddos to watch that video. Paste. Back. The surface area and volume of a cone, also something we're working on this week in class. I would like that to be in my choice board too. And you get the gist. I could list as many as I wanted to, and then click on generate. So here's choice board, and here are links to the 2 resources that I put in there and asked for it to include. And of course, I did this earlier and I was a little more detailed. I had a little more time, but I was able to create a really good one earlier where each choice had, a different link for the different resources that I put in. So that's another good tip or tool to think about when you're working with AI is play around with it. The wording, sometimes you have to play with that wording a little bit until you get it just right the way that you wanted it to. And I'll also show you one more great way that I have used Magic School, and that is the text leveler. So eMediaVA has tons of great articles, lots of good, rich text on all sorts of different reading levels, all kinds of topics. Here's a great one I found for secondary students on women's suffrage in the progressive area. But let's say I'm an elementary school teacher. Say I teach 4th grade, and I like the message here. I like the content, but this reading level, because it is for secondary students, is just not something that my students are going to be able to read independently, and I want them to. So I highlighted all my text, I copied it. I'm going to go back to my Magic School tools, and I'm going to find the one called Text Leveler. Gosh, and I love that you can search for the tools because I would never find anything in here if you couldn't. All right, so this time I need this to be appropriate for 4th graders because that's what I teach. Here's the original text that's a little too high for my kiddos. And here's Magic School turning it into a piece of text that is much easier for my kiddos to read and on an appropriate 4th grade level for them. pretty powerful. I wish I could go through all of these tools with you because this is just my favorite site in the whole world. And every time I look, there's new tools at the bottom as well. And I'm trying to use all of them. So the last one that I'm really not going to get into for time's sake is School AI. Honestly, it's very similar to Magic School. It has a big list of tools that you can use. It also, you can create these really cool like chatbot situations for your kids on any topic that you want. So it's like they're talking to Chat GPT, um, except you can see the conversation that your kids are having back and forth. So it adds this really safe layer. I'm not sure off the top of my head if there's a limit to the length of text in Magic School, Barbara. So far, everything that I have put in there not has been fine. I've pasted some pretty long articles in there and haven't had an issue, but I don't know the exact answer to that. So that being said, we're at 5:15. Um, you can scan the QR code if you want a copy of our slides. Lindsay will also make sure those are emailed out to you tomorrow. And thank you so much for joining us. Both of our emails are up here on the screen in case you need us for anything after tonight. We hope you grabbed something that you can take with you, some great eMedia resources, some cool AI tools, new ideas. And Lindsay and I will stick around for a minute in case you have any questions you want to ask us. But otherwise, have a great night and a good rest of your week.